Welcome back to a new week on Out of the Bubble podcast. I hope you are all well. This week, we are talking about career changes, pretty big career changes. It's something that's not uncommon talking about on Out of the Bubble podcast. It's what this podcast is all about, sharing these stories of reinvention, life after 40, and showing other women that it's never too late to try new things. Minreet Kaur, today's guest, knows all about that. Minreet is an award-winning media journalist. She's worked with Sky, BBC. She's known for sharing her stories of what it's like being a midlife Sikh woman. And she is very vocal about all her different issues that she's come across in life. I love following her. What's interesting is watching the last couple of years of how through the pandemic, she has now changed careers and pivoted in a direction that she could never have foreseen to now becoming a swimming instructor. So I'm looking forward to finding out more about what sparked this inspiration and how she feels about this change in midlife. Grab a coffee and enjoy. So good morning, Minreet. It's lovely to have you on the podcast today.
Morning. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. I really appreciate it.
Well, we've been talking just before we've gone live, and so you're somebody that I've been following on Instagram for a couple of years now, and love some of the stories that you've covered, which we're going to get into. And in the middle of all that, you've changed careers, which is really interesting. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, I've got to get Minreet to come and talk to the ladies. So how do you describe yourself now to people? Because you've got lots of different hats.
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. Actually, I haven't been asked that question, so. So I think if I do get asked that question, I think, still a freelance journalist / swimming teacher, the soon to be teaching swimming basically, because I'm just waiting for that last bit of theory to be cleared and to, and obviously by the time this probably airs, I will be qualified. But freelance journalist / swimming teacher, I think, which is just really strange thinking about that because actually I haven't been asked that.
Saying it out loud makes it feel more real, I guess.
Yeah, and I think what's really funny is the two go hand in hand because as a freelance journalist, I'm going to meet all these women and maybe even men as well who want to learn to swim, but they're all going to have stories. So I think in a way it's going to make that whole, that career that I was trying to pursue in journalism, which was it was so tough for me. I feel like this is just going to fall into place. People are going to trust me with their stories. I'll get first-hand stories, probably access to communities that we don't hear from. So all the things that I've been kind of really working hard towards and trying to do more of, I think it's just going to fall into place now with the swimming, which is really nice.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm a real believer in that things fall into place at the right time in life. So everything that you've done up to this leads you to this moment. For anyone that doesn't know your kind of journalistic background, let's start there because you're an award-winning journalist. You've been freelancing, but you've covered some amazing things, and obviously with your father doing the skipping, that went viral. So let's talk about that bit before we lead on to what caused the change.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to get into the media from a really young age, but obviously being a woman of colour, I've never really thought that I would ever make it. And my parents have always said to me when I was younger, why don't you apply to Blue Peter? And I never did because I just think I didn't have the interest because I just never thought I'd get anywhere. So when I was working in the corporate world as a marketing person, I didn't really enjoy it, and I didn't really feel that there was nothing there. Like I wasn't doing anything for anyone. You're just basically helping. And I worked in the pharmaceutical world, which we know now with the COVID and the vaccine. It's all about it is just about making money for themselves. The companies want to grow. The economy, everything that's going on right now, it's about making that money for businesses. It's not about people. And I didn't really enjoy that. I've always, as a Sikh, one of the most important things for us is selfless service, which is service to others, and you put others before yourself. And I've been brought up like that. So, for me, I think it was in 2017, I just had enough of my career. And, I'd gone through a divorce, like 11 years then, I think, or longer, a divorce in 2009, whatever that works out to be. I've forgotten about how many years it is. But I think I was just like, I'm not happy with the fact that where I'm working, because that doesn't help. So I decided, and I think at the time I reached out to the BBC Online, and I still can't remember what happened, but what I do know is whoever it was that I reached out to replied and said, why don't you contact this person? And it was through that contact that I spoke to somebody at the BBC, and I just said, I'd like to help you being more diverse. And that was it. I was like, how can I help you rather than this is what I'm looking for? Because actually at that time I wasn't really looking to get into the BBC. I just wanted to help them with their stories and content and getting more stories from the Sikh community out there, because I don't really see much from my community. And it was when I met the editor from that local radio station, he said, well, what do you want to do? Where do you want to be? And no one's really asked me that. And I thought that was really sweet from somebody who's English, who's actually looking at someone like myself and giving me the opportunity to answer what I'm looking for. And I said, well, actually, I would love to work for the BBC. And that was it. I came in as a freelancer, I got my foot in the door, but it was a real struggle. So in 2018, I was there, but it's really hard, even though I'd done lots of bits and pieces. I did a piece for the One Show, Sunday Morning Live, News Round, Inside Out. I still feel that wasn't getting anywhere. So when COVID hit, obviously it was devastating, and it's been so hard for so many people. I'd lost all work. But what I didn't know is that I would win report of the year, that the award winning journalist and the award that I got would be from my father. And, they always say that there's a story and it's under your nose. You just have to find it. I had no intention. I mean, that skipping video that I did of my dad at the allotment was actually just to get South Asians off the sofa. I was bored of people doing push-up challenges, and I thought, let's do something completely different, because a skipping rope is something that you can find at home. And yeah, so I filmed my dad at the allotment, and that just went viral. And I never thought that. For me, even today, I'm just like, how can a skipping video go so far? And like, my dad's got 6,500 followers on Instagram. I started that page in lockdown. I've had my Instagram page for God knows how many years, and I'm only sitting at 4 and something thousand. I mean, I know it's not about followers, but it is when your dad has inspired so many, and he's not behind that social media. I am, and I've got to manage his account on my own, and I just think it's amazing. I mean, I just think it's so amazing how I feel really happy that in the pandemic I was able to do something, and my family were able to do something to give back, to get people active. And that for me is something that will stay with me for life, because they say, you want to leave a legacy. And I feel my dad's done that. This is something that will never be forgotten in years to come. That Skipping Sikh, the man, that stood out and skipping at the age of, 73 at the time, and then did his first full marathon. So that it just literally it was a really spontaneous idea, and it went so far. And I think that then changed my thinking around the media, because they're always saying we want to be diverse, we want this, we want that, but actually they don't really want any of that, because they rejected my dad's story at the time. They said
Really?
it's not a true story. Yeah, so I had to push for it. But the good thing is, I'm glad that they did, because it made me realize I don't need the media. I'll just use social media. And that's where, Rachel, I think you started following me, and I use my social media to the best of my ability. And even now, I don't rely on the media, I rely on my own social media, because actually I want people following me that are inspired by the content that we put out there, and it's helping them. I'm not really, the world is a much bigger place than any mainstream media, the world, right? And I feel I connect with the world. People from all over the world contact me, and my father, even my mum. And I think that made me really realize that actually you don't really need the media anymore. You just need to connect to the right people. And those people could be anywhere in the world. And imagine how big your reach could be if you do the right thing and you're doing something for others. And that's it. So then I think that's where my journey went into fitness, and and everything else, like the swimming, all just came off the back of that skipping video, and how health and faith were two very important things in the pandemic, and they were very important for me, and they helped me through.
Yeah, and I mean it's an amazing story. Like I'll share the links obviously to that initial skipping video. But I think you're so right. The social media platform has given so many people, normal people that all have stories to share, the platform to do it, that wouldn't normally have their voices heard, which I think is really empowering, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think that's it actually, is the voices, giving a voice to the voiceless, the people that we don't hear from. And they, some people have got amazing stories, and they don't even make it to mainstream media. And and that's something I'm really passionate about. I want to be able to use the fact that now people know me as the daughter of a skipping Sikh. I want to be able to help people that didn't have a voice, because I was that person. I didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
And for so long, I've changed careers late in my 30s to try and get into the media. And, after 2 years of trying, I just thought, if I feel like this and I feel so run down, it's affecting my mental health. I can't imagine how people before me have felt and given up, how people after me are going to try and probably give up. And I just thought, well, if I can help by sharing their stories. So now what I do is I focus more on the human interest stories. So, I've built a relationship with the right publications who, commission my stories. I now get individual stories, and it's so much better than me just knocking on that door of, oh, I really want to present and report. Because if I can give a voice to somebody else and I can write that story, that's still journalism. You're still sharing a story. It might be a written story, but I think people, with reading an article, you can read it in your own time. With TV, you have to watch it, or you'll refer. When are you ever going to go back to watch it? When everyone's watching what they want to watch. So yeah, so I think in a way it's worked out better for me. I still get to share the stories. Actually, I get to share the stories. Not even I get to share the stories that I want to share, which is giving a voice to those that haven't got anyone else to go to, and they trust me. And I think that means so much more. If somebody's got such an interesting and juicy story, which is what the media want, well, they're not going to trust you. They're going to come to me. That says a lot. If people can trust me and talk to me, you know what, and they give me their story, then great. I'm not constantly fighting that battle with the media, or give me a break, because actually, if you want that story, they're going to speak to me and not you. So, it's just about turning it around, because I was really run down in the ground by the media. I really feel that, this whole thing of diversity, women of color, I do feel I've had to work twice as hard. I really have to, and I'm still not, haven't had that break. So that's why I took a bit of a change in my career, which just was good for my mental health.
Yeah, and people talk about these issues as if it's all resolved now, and that actually it's all those tick boxes that will be smushed out, and that's just rubbish, isn't it? Because actually,
No, it is.
it's still got a long, long way to go.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I felt like, Rachel, if my dad, who was just as much out there, right? Maybe, I mean, he could have had a lot more coverage, as people said, but even still, if that doesn't help to show the kind of caliber of work and contacts and story ideas that we have as a family, and that's not going to help me get a break and be that person that represents my community, because they're going to make it so hard for you because actually you need XYZ. I'm just like, oh, forget it. Because I was even studying a journalism qualification in the pandemic, which I passed. So it's like, well, what more can you do? You've got the experience, you won Report of the Year, you did something amazing in the pandemic, right? Which was on all the mainstream channels. Then you're like, oh, hold on a minute, something needs to change. And actually, do you know what, Rachel? I never thought I'd say this, but the swimming for me is a breath of fresh air. Like, I actually thought, and I can say this now because I was having this conversation with my mum yesterday. I was a bit like, oh, do you know what? Do I really want to do my level 2? Is this really for me? I'm not going to enjoy it. But I tell you something, oh my God, I feel the swimming is like an addiction. Just even me getting in the pool and doing dives and tumble turns. It's not even the swimming. It's not the lane by lane swimming. It's the stuff that you did as a child, which I don't think I did do, and I was even learnt to do. I just wasn't interested.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now, and my mum wants to learn. She's in her 70s, and then
Brilliant.
all my community are like, oh, you just, and you think, actually, oh my God, the swimming is a break from the journalism. I'm not even thinking about stories anymore. I just can't wait to get into the pool and think, well, I want to practice. It's just so funny how it was a struggle to do that level 2. I felt like my heart wasn't in it, and my mum said, just do it and you're going to feel very different. And I was like, thank God that my mum pushed me, because I do feel very different. I feel like there are so many things that I want to learn in swimming that I never learned before. And I just find it like, I do feel like I'm a kid again. And I love that.
Well, I love that. And there's something, what even sparked this off? Because, it seems to me you had got to the point where you'd won awards and you were doing, things had progressed and you got into a place where you were comfortable sharing your own platform. And then swimming came into your life. How did that happen?
So what happened was, when I was constantly knocking on doors, trying to get a job, applying to jobs, getting lots of rejections, that even though my stories were out there, I was still freelancing. And that was hard, because every day for me as a freelancer, you are working. Not that you're paid, but you're working because you're thinking of stories. Because if you don't get a story commissioned, you're not paid. And actually, even if you get a story commissioned, you're still not paid until that's published.
Yeah.
So I got to a point where it was really difficult. I thought, this is just 7 days a week. I don't switch off, because all I'm thinking about is, what's my next story? I've got to find a story. And it was just getting too much. So I went to meet a friend of mine for lunch, and she's in her 50s. And she had said to me, I was talking to her about work and just saying how frustrating it is that I can't find a full-time job. And so she said, have you ever thought about, like, the fitness stuff that you're doing? I think you should take that forward, because it's really inspiring. And maybe you should look to become a swimming teacher, because I've just learnt swimming in my 50s. And she goes, I'd never learnt when I was younger. And I know so many other Asian women who haven't learned to swim because of fear, anxiety, and, lots of things. Haven't felt comfortable wearing their swimwear, and just lots of things around it's kind of, I feel like it's a bit of a taboo in a way. Like it's not really talked about. Swimming is not really promoted very well in the Asian community. So she said, "Have you thought about it?" I said, "Not really." She goes, "Well, I'm going to leave you with that task. Go away and look at it and come back to me." And I did. And I happened to find Triton Training, who help if you're not working and you're on universal credit. And I was at that time because I wasn't in a full-time job. They help you to get they give you a bursary for towards a level 1, level 2. So you have to pay something, but they help you. Um, and it fell in the borough that I was in, which is Hillingdon. And so, yeah, I literally looked into it, signed up really quickly, didn't even think twice, did my level 1 in November, I passed. And then I just did my level 2 just now in February, started on Valentine's Day and finished on the Sunday. And yeah, so it was just literally something that I had never thought of. It was from that lunch that I had with my friend of mine, who, who I said to her, I said, "I really owe you. Like when I do my first lesson, I really want to take you out for lunch or dinner, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have thought about it." And actually, when I had that conversation with her and I went away, it was like a sign from all different angles, because when I was at the Nuffield Health, I had lots of people asking me to train them to swim. And I just thought, where is this? I've never had this conversation with people before. And all of a sudden, people are asking me to teach them to swim. And it was just like a sign. It was just a sign that, I hadn't had a discussion with anybody apart from my mum. And that was it from there, that I literally just, yeah, I mean, even now, I can't believe that, I am very nearly level 2 qualified, but I can't believe that I've taken that turn, and how I really do love it, because I never really loved swimming before.
Yeah, and I love that, and I
So
love
that's it.
how having that open mind to the possibilities just allowed you to go down that route. It would have been so easy for you to have dismissed that and thought, "Well, I've never done anything like that before. Why should I do that?" But the fact that you had that
Exactly.
open mind and the faith to think, "Well, actually, I'm going to see where this takes me." I love that, and at
Yeah.
41, doing that is just brilliant.
I know, and I think that's the thing. Like, I think I've had like two change of careers near enough, in late 30s to 40s, like from marketing to journalism to this.
Yeah,
And and I think that it just shows anything is possible. And I've been able to turn my life around with fitness and see the results of that. But it was, yeah, it was just, I mean, even now I think to myself, I can't believe it, because actually, if I hadn't done this qualification, it opens up so many doors. And that's things like working abroad. As as a qualified swimming teacher, you could go anywhere,
yeah,
you know, and you can't really do that if you're, in most jobs, you have to wait for them to kind of set. But if you're a swimming teacher, there's such a huge demand for more people to come forward and become swimming teachers. Especially, this is where things are very different. They want people from diverse communities. They want people like me, because I don't really know anybody. I never grew up seeing a Sikh teacher, and I've never seen a Sikh teacher who's changed career in her 40s. I think I am probably the only Sikh woman that I know in my 40s who's become a swimming teacher. So there's such a, there's a call out for people to come forward. And I think now's the time I've made that mark. And this potentially could be something I could set up my own swimming school later on. And, I've just got a vision of what I would really love to do. And I think that I really want to take this forward. And my biggest thing of what I really want to do is not about getting women in the pool lane swimming, because I mean, I just find that it can be really boring
yeah.
and it's quite dull. And I don't really think people 40 plus are really looking to, yeah, they want to get active, but swimming doesn't really make you burn lots of calories. It's good for you, but it's not as good as, say, running or other things. So my biggest thing is that actually I just want people to feel comfortable in the water.
Mm.
If they want to swim, they can learn all of those strokes. They can swim whichever stroke they feel. If they want to do it with a noodle or a float, or they want to learn, like some women just want to learn fun things like tumble turns and handstands and a dive, and just fun stuff that you can do in the water. And even bringing other women socially together to go for a swim, go for a coffee. That's what I want to do. Is like, so you've got the best of both worlds. So I really want to be able to make it something that's fun and interesting, and not just get in the lane and start swimming, because not even I do that. I'm not a big lane swimmer. I did this big challenge for charity. I'm not doing it for me to be a lane swimmer. Yeah, I'd like to improve myself and do it, but that's not what I'm going to be promoting it for. I just want the water to be somewhere fun, safe, and for people to be able to know how to do the basics of, that could potentially save their lives. If you're going on holiday, like treading water, sculling, being able to have all these survival things that you should know, floating, that kind of stuff. I just want people to know, and to not be afraid of the deep end, to make the deep end your best friend, because it actually is. It's how you are in the water and how you're able to keep yourself afloat is all you need to know in any water, whether it's deep, whatever it is, you've got to be able to learn that skill. And that's what I want to be able to do.
I love that. Make the deep end your friend. I love that. That could equate to so much in life as well, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it could
Being
be,
really to
yeah,
embrace those kind of challenges in life and
yeah,
go for it, and
exactly.
and sit comfortably with it. And I do
Yeah.
think water, for lots of women that are maybe struggling with their body confidence, really find it quite intimidating, and I can imagine even more so from an Asian community point of view, because you don't see the representation in swimming instructors, and it's not something that's been really encouraged in the past. I can imagine it's really can be quite an intimidating place to go to a big swimming pool, so having someone like you to create that ripple effect is so powerful.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of people that don't have that body confidence, and even wearing swimwear,
Yeah,
because they want to be more covered up, and I can understand that. I totally get it, and I think that's why I'm trying to share my pictures of different swimwear, because not because I have that. It's not even that I have that body confidence. It's not. I'm not really where I want to be in my own, like, the way that I feel about my body image. But that's what I want to show people, is it doesn't matter how you look, really. We should love ourselves for who we are. Social media has taken that away, where we look at people that are really skinny and slim, and we think that's how we should all look. Not really. At the end of the day, swimwear looks good on anyone, at the end of the day. And no one is really going to be judging you or labeling you. Just wear what you feel comfortable with. And people are there to swim. They're not going to be looking at you and what you're wearing. And so that's why I'm trying to break that by sharing it on my own social media, so that people think, okay, like, she's from the Sikh community, and actually, she doesn't feel proud. I mean, I did for a long time. That's probably why I never swam. I felt really awkward in certain swimwear. Like, my mum was saying to me the other day, she said, "Oh, I can't believe, like, how you've changed, because if the costume was too high, you would never wear it. If it was, you'd always want to wear your shorts." My mum was saying this to me, and whereas my mum's always been confident, and she's just kind of got on with it. I think for me, my mum was my inspiration, for somebody who's in her 70s and from the community. She's never cared. She's loved swimming, and she's always loved it. My dad taught my mum to swim. So that's my inspiration, and I think that's what I want other people to feel, is to feel comfortable and to not worry about how you look, with your cap and your goggles. Like, I remember a friend of mine, she's like, "Oh God, this looks so silly on me. I can't believe I'm wearing this cap." People even wearing a swimming cap don't like that look. It's about how they look. And I'm trying to break. I mean, I don't like the way that I look.
yeah,
I think I look really funny, but I think it's hilarious. It's quite funny, actually, being in a swimming cap and goggles. I
yeah.
mean,
No
I feel
one, no
like
one looks their best in a swim cap.
no, but I think, you know what, it's quite nice, because it's just funny. I feel like I look like a bit of an alien, but it's funny. I think I'm just trying to make it fun, that look. It doesn't matter how we look. We're here to swim. And you know, don't worry about what other people think. I think that's the thing, we get caught up in, what do other people think? In fact, who cares what other people think? They're not living our life, right? So do what makes you happy and forget about anybody else.
Has this made you become and feel braver in all other aspects of your life, then, taking this next challenge and learning how to swim and doing the diving? I've been seeing you on Instagram doing your diving, and has that made you feel braver overall in your whole attitude to life?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I literally do live by that motto of, I don't really care what people think. And I'm not, and I know, like, I was saying this to my mum yesterday. People, obviously I'm looking to meet someone. And I was saying to my mum, actually, I think probably somebody Sikh from the Sikh community would not want to be with somebody like me, because I show pictures in my swimwear and I'm doing all the stuff that not really many people have ever done before. But I said to my mum, I don't really care, because actually I don't really know if I'd want to meet somebody in the community anyway, unless that person is very open minded, because our
Yeah.
faith teaches us to not judge, to not label, to do good. I'm not doing anything wrong. You're
Mm.
in the swimming pool, you wear swimwear, right? It's not like you're not wearing nothing, you're wearing your
Yeah.
swimwear. And I want to break that taboo of how you look and what you wear, because it's swimwear, right? So,
Yeah.
and my mum was like, yeah, she goes, you're probably right, actually. She goes, because she goes, but it's good, because you're putting out there who you are, and you're going to attract the person who is going to accept you for you. And that's the thing. For so long, it's been very much, you've got to fit into the criteria of what the community want, and you've got to fit in to be a certain way. You're not really yourself, because you want to be accepted by the community, or I don't want to be accepted. I've got my dad, who for me is an inspiration, who's on the path. He's spiritual. My dad's supporting me through my swimming journey. Never said to me anything about swimwear or anything. If my dad's not saying it,
Yeah.
I don't really care what other people say, right? And
Yeah.
I lost a friend of mine recently, Gurdeep, who I never really got to share my swimming story with. And he was in his late, I think he was 59. Um, and he was a swimmer. And I was talking to his wife, and she was like, yeah, Gurdeep used to swim all the time, and she used to swim. And I said to her, I said, if he was here now, he would be somebody and he's from the Sikh community, very well respected. He'd be pushing me.
Yeah.
He'd say, do you know what? Carry on doing what you need to do, because what you're doing is you're encouraging people to take up a sport, which isn't really something that people do. So that keeps me going. I've got this voice in my head, and I think, because Gurdeep was for me a mentor and a role model. And I always think, and I talk to him like myself, and I think, well, what would he say? Well, he'd say carry on. So actually, I'm going to carry on, because he was very much about being quite, unique and doing something different and not doing what the community want you to do. But as long as you're doing good, do it. And so for me, it's like, actually, no, I don't really care about this. I feel I feel happier in myself, because I know what I'm trying to do is make a change. And I can see that change because I have lots of women contacting me saying, we want to learn. We
Yeah.
want to learn to swim. Even men, I've had some men who wear turbans that have contacted me to say, we'd like to learn to swim. So obviously it's making a difference, right? It's something that's needed. Why all of a sudden have I got like 30 or 40 people, and I haven't even started teaching yet, are contacting me? Where were they before? Because they never felt comfortable, because they never saw anybody like them. So if I can make a change and people start swimming and it helps them mentally and with their health, then you're doing a good thing. Because, I don't want to leave this world not making a difference in people's lives. I want to be able to do something to give back.
And this is not the first time that you're being quite vocal about how you feel as well, like, which is that sense of freedom, I guess, comes from being able to use your voice, because you have mentioned the fact that you got divorced 14, 15 years ago. And I've interviewed lots of women recently about going through divorce and dating after 40. And you've got this extra layer that lots of us don't have to worry about. So the fact that, in the Sikh community, divorce for a woman is much harder to find love second time around, isn't it? So you've been
Yeah.
quite vocal about sharing that story, which I think, again, is pushing those boundaries, isn't it, and making change.
Yeah, because I feel, as somebody from the Sikh community, our faith never judges you. It doesn't, our gurus, from our first guru to our 10th guru, to the Holy Scriptures, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, does not judge or label anyone. So, our gurus would not judge women or men for being divorced, right? They say it as it is, and yes, it's a bond between two people who become one with God, and I understand that. But divorce is something we shouldn't be something that we think of doing, but it happens, right? You get divorced, but I feel that, because my faith means a lot to me. I know my gurus would not judge me, so who's the community to judge me?
Yeah.
They don't. They're not living my life, and I don't really care what they think, because actually I wouldn't want to be with somebody in the community who is judgmental, because my faith means a lot to me. And if you're on the path of faith, like of that, if you're on that path where you understand what your faith is telling you, which is not to judge, is to accept people for who they are. No one is actually right or wrong. Everyone is one. We're all part of one human race. It doesn't matter what religion you are, or what caste, creed anybody is. It's about accepting and being there and showing that love. And they're the kind of people I want in my life. So I talk about it, because I think, honestly, for so long I've had to really, you've just had to mold yourself to be able to be accepted by the community. I don't need the community's acceptance. I just don't need it, and I'm not interested in it. I want people in my life that are genuine people, that are like you and want to do good, and they're the kind of people that I want. So I think that's why I talk about it, is because, but for so long I really couldn't. And when I got divorced, it was a massive taboo then, and I couldn't even, like, even when I was going to the Gurdwara, they only really had very few people divorced, and they wouldn't introduce me to people that were not divorced. Whereas now things have changed. So many people are getting divorced.
Mm.
So now it's like tables have turned and people don't judge you. But actually, when I got divorced, you were judging. And for so long, it made a big impact in my life, because I couldn't meet anybody in the community. But I think it's true with these, like with having supportive parents and the change in career and meeting the people that I meet, divorce is not the first thing. That people don't care. Genuine people don't care if you're divorced, and people outside of my community really don't care. They don't ask you about your status, or why you're still single, or don't you want to get married, and these ridiculous questions that you get from people. Don't you want to have children? And you just think to yourself, there's so much more to life than marriage and children. And yeah, of course I want to meet somebody, and of course I want to have children, but I also believe what is meant to be will be, and if it's meant to be for me, it will, and if it doesn't, that's fine, because there's other things you can do. You can adopt children, you can foster a child. There's so many things you can do. There is always a solution for everything. And I think that, we very much feel in the community is a case of, you've got to do it this way, or otherwise, if you're out of that kind of, that regimented way, or if you're 40 and you're single, or, oh my God, it's just like, I just find it really, I just think it's just ridiculous, to be honest. And I think for me, I just want to be free. life is very short and you should live it the way you want to live it. And as long as you're not doing any harm to anybody, people should just let you be and carry on as you are.
Absolutely. And I know that you've been documenting the fact that you started doing in park runs as well.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to meet people, not necessarily even if you're looking for dating, but it's a great way as an older single woman to link up with different people, isn't it? How's that going?
Yeah. Oh, it's really good. It's really fun. I love the park run. I meet such a lovely community there. I was at the park run on the weekend, and I met someone there who was telling me about some other runs that they do in the week. They do like drills and speed and all this other stuff like that. So you do meet other people, and they tell you about other things that they're involved in. So it's brilliant. It's like having a family at the park run. It's a really lovely community feeling. And then you can go for a coffee afterwards. So it's really nice. I've made lots of friends, and now on my way of going to different park runs and building that, and just meeting different people. I think that's what actually makes you feel there is a whole big world out there.
Yeah.
And there are so many nice people out there who are just interested in just you and what you do, rather than your status or anything else. So it's really fun. I love all these activities that I'm doing, especially anything around fitness. It just is so good for your mental health.
Yeah. And is it like were you a runner before all this, or is this yet again a new kind of passion that you found?
Yeah, I've never really. I mean, I have ran before, but it's just very intermittent, like here and there. I think the last run that I did was when I did a half marathon, I think with my dad, and that was probably in 2000. Was it 2018? I can't remember when it was, but even then, I was so slow, and I remember my dad was right behind me because he was just checking that I was okay, so he could have gone much more faster. I just didn't enjoy it. I did not enjoy running. My dad loves running, and obviously he did his first full marathon. I mean, I don't think I could even do a full, but I have signed up for half a
Oh,
marathon
have you? Oh,
with a friend of mine from the gym, Bob, who's the person that I started running with.
oh,
And
brilliant.
so he's 73, yeah. And so, no, it wasn't. It was just because my dad's a big runner and the park run was so much fun. I started running with my friend Bob at the gym and started this little running club of ours that grew, and it got lots more people that joined in and would run together. That got me back into running. So then I started going back to the park run, and then I did a 10 kilometer this morning as well after a long time because I hadn't been well for the past 3 weeks. So it's something that I've actually fallen in love with running. I think it's amazing. Like I love it, but I never did before.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you seem to be creating these ripples of building communities wherever you go, Minreet, which is really, really positive. I know that we need more
Thank you.
people like that. Have you got
Oh.
any kind of long-term goals of how you really would like to? Obviously, you want to get the swimming coaching built up and the business built up, but what have you set your sights on?
I think, do you know what? I definitely want to do more around health and fitness, but not this athletic type of fitness, or what we see on social media, people with these really slim bodies. That not. I just want exercise to be fun because that's what drew me in.
Yeah,
I think, like you said, it's because I like meeting new people, I like building new communities, and I like doing activities with people. So I'm not one just to sit down and go for a coffee, but it's nice if you've gone for a run, come back, do a bit of sauna and steam, and then you go for a coffee. So I think for me, it's building those kind of communities of somebody, who maybe might be on their own, or somebody who's going through something difficult in their life, or, they might not be, they might just be really happy, but they just need an activity and a community to join.
yeah,
I just want people to be able to come together because it can be quite daunting when you're starting out running on your own, swimming on your own, walking on your own, and it's quite boring. So I think for me, I would love to be able to have my own club of some sort, whether that's like running one day, swimming one day, cycling one day, walking one day. I would love to be able to do that and just definitely encourage everybody. But the biggest focus for me would be the South Asian community because our
yeah,
food's not very healthy. We don't put exercise at the forefront. And I think that needs to turn. My parents have always put exercise first and they've encouraged it in us. And I didn't until my 40s has that changed. That's really late. And I think whereas my mum and dad are more fitter than me. Like they still are more fitter than me because they've kept it up all their lives.
mm,
So I've got a lot of catching up to do. And I think, that makes me realize how health is your wealth. So I think I'd love to take this health and fitness forward. If I could make it into a business opportunity and then do a lot of selfless service with it, I'd be happy doing that because it's such a rewarding thing to do. I love it myself and I'd love to share that happiness with other people.
well, keep doing what you're doing, and I shall watch you grow. So when will you
Thank
actually
you.
be kind of fully qualified to start doing lessons? Not long to go, I think.
For swimming.
Yes.
Oh, so hopefully this week I hear back from the
Oh,
last, the last couple of bits that I've added, that I've sent off for my theory. So hopefully by the end of this week, I should know. I passed the practical, so it's just
yeah.
the theory that's left to do. So yeah, so fingers
Brilliant.
crossed.
So my last four questions that I ask all my guests: do you have a book that's really kind of touched you and left a mark on you?
It's really interesting because I'm not a big reader, but I was reading Lily Singh, Superwoman, like a boss. How to be, I can't remember what the name was of it, but it's Lily Singh's, the book that she, I'm just gonna have a quick look. Hold on, is it How to Be a Boss?
How
Yeah,
to be a boss.
how to be, but it's BAWSE. How to be a, I don't know
Yeah,
how she says it, but I'll just look at it as How to Be a Boss, because
right.
yeah. So that really, I read that while I wasn't feeling well in these last few weeks, and that really inspired me, because to listen to her journey as a woman, again, from a woman of color, and started off with YouTube, and that really, it was brilliant because it hit me, and it just made me realize all the things that we need to do and keep going.
Yeah,
Things don't just fall on a plate, you have to work hard for it, and
yeah.
so that was a brilliant book, and I really enjoyed reading that, and I'm nearly on the last few chapters of that, so that was really good.
Brilliant. I shall add that to the list. And what about a
Yeah.
piece of music or a song that motivates you?
Oh
Have you got a
gosh.
favourite running song?
Do you know what's really funny? So it's not, I don't actually listen to music when I'm running, but I do put my prayers on. So that what I do like is my meditation. It's like Vaheguru Simran, which I listen to, and it's just like a chant kind of. It's just Vaheguru, which means wonderful God. That really, I always listen to that when I'm running. So I can always send you a link to
Yes,
what I
please.
do
Yeah,
listen
do.
to.
Yeah,
I
that'd be
can do, yeah.
fantastic. Thank you. And
That happens for me. That
I suspect I know the answer to this next question. Who inspires you?
are my parents.
Yeah.
And my faith. It's a combination of both. I think I've got to say, yeah, my definitely my faith and my parents.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had amazing role models growing up.
Yeah, they definitely are. And they're so supportive. I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I'm doing if my parents weren't the way that they were. If they were these parents that were very much old school, traditional, and like very much, oh no, you've got to be married and have children. They never did that. They never forced things upon us. They said, whatever you do it well and don't hurt anyone, and just do what you can for others, because you know what, we can't say anything else, and live an honest life.
Yeah, beautiful. And what about if you could pay yourself a compliment, what would it be?
It's hard, isn't it? You never
It
end up paying
is.
yourself. Oh, I
No,
know.
that's I'm trying to
Yeah.
encourage women to be kinder to themselves and really stop and think about it.
Yeah,
And it's the one question that always stumps women.
I know. I think if I could pay myself a compliment, I think probably the fact that I don't give up. I mean, I get to the point of about to give up, and then I just kick myself, or my mum says something to me, and it's like, actually, yeah, it's true. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep on going. Is the fact that I'm determined, and I'm very much a persevere. And I've got to be tenacious to continue going. And I think that's the thing. Never give up. I think that's something I won't give up, and I'm not. I'm just going to continue going and hopefully make some changes.
Good. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And how can people find you, Minreet? What's the best way for them to follow you on social media?
So on Twitter, it's mincore5, and on Instagram, Facebook, just Minreet Kaur, and LinkedIn as well. So yeah, all Minreet Kaur.
Well, good luck with everything. I can't wait to see the swimming lessons, and what an amazing feeling it will be to see that first group of women actually learn to swim and be more confident in the water. That'll be
Yeah,
so rewarding, won't it?
I know it will be. I can't wait. I really can't wait to get a nice picture of all of us in our swimwear. Can you imagine? That'd be
No,
amazing as
yeah,
well.
really will. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Really
And
interesting.
you.
Take
Thank you for
care.
having
Thank
me.
you.
Take
Pleasure.
care.
Thank you. What another great, inspiring story to share on the Out of the Bubble podcast. I just love hearing all these women's stories because they really do keep you inspired, and that feeling of keeping an open mind because you just don't know where it's going to take you. And Minreet could never have imagined that she would end up being from journalism to really following her passion for swimming and becoming a swimming instructor in her 40s. Love hearing these stories, so keep them coming. And, as Minreet also said, to get comfortable being in the deep end, so make the deep end your best friend. I think that can be applied to all areas of life. Stepping out of your comfort zone later in life can be scary and there is fear there. But if we push past that and learn to sit with it, then you can achieve so much more in this next chapter. And I think Minreet is a great example of that. So I will be back with more inspiration next week. But in the meantime, have a great week. Keep being fabulous.